Well, hello everyone. Welcome back. This is our second game of High Frontier for All. We're still going to play Space Diamonds, but this time you can see there's something different here. We are going to be playing with rockets. We're not going to be playing with the solar sails. We're going to play with rockets. So there's quite a few differences, and it's certainly ramping up in terms of difficulty because solar sails, we just had two burns every turn. However, here we have a different number of burns depending on the engine that's being used and the weight of the rocket. So, a couple of things to clear up from before. Last episode, I did pin this. When I went to the moon here, I said that this space right here, I had to stop at this radiation spot, which we're not tracking radiation in this version of the game, but it's not an intersection or a pivot point. So it actually is a circle here, and from here you can actually go, say from here to here to here, just in one burn. So you don't have to expend a burn here. I went to Geo and then went here and then went to the moon. So it's basically the same amount of moves. It wouldn't have really mattered. The difference between being here and here, the destinations here and here, you can get there in two burns. This one's only one, but you just don't use the other burn. So it didn't really affect gameplay, but I want to mention that anything with a circle, the magenta ones here is a burn spot. And without it, it's basically just a point. So you can just go past those places. Now these, I called these things, well, it's called a space. Same thing for these intersections and these right turn points here, these right turn points. Those are spaces. So you always have to be on a space or a site when you end the turn. You can't just stop halfway. You have to say go to this intersection right here and stop if you want, especially if you want to turn, unless you have extra burns where you can spend two burns to do a pivot. So that was a couple of things. One thing to mention is that these lines here are called routes or routes, depending on how you pronounce it. But yeah, that's one other thing to mention is that when you stop on one of these intersections, you do have freedom of motion to be able to go whatever direction that you want. I said that you can't go backward, but you actually can in this version of the game. Not sure about the core version. We'll get there later on. But in this version of the game, it says that directional freedom at the start of the movement, you can leave a space in any direction without using burns, regardless of what space it is, including the direction you came from in the previous turn. So that's just a couple of things to clear up. All right, so as for the new things that we added here, so there's a few things. Number one, we expanded our reach outside of the Mars zone into the Ceres zone. So Ceres is a big, big asteroid that's out in the asteroid belt. So we expanded out to there, and as you can see, there's a lot of new things here, a lot of new chits that we can discover, which is great. The second thing that we did is, instead of using sails, we are now using rockets. And these rockets are different for each player. For example, this rocket here has a dry mass of 3, okay? So with the solar sail, if you recall, only had a dry mass of 1. So this one's heavier. And this rocket here, let's see if I can attempt to, it's an electric rocket. Hopefully you can read that. It's got a base thrust of 3, and it expels 1 unit of fuel/propellant every time you burn. Okay, so this has a base thrust of 3 and a dry mass of 3 and a propellant cost of 1. This one here is a a nuclear rocket, and this one has a base thrust of 5 and expels 3 units of propellant with 2 dry mass. So how we remark here is pretty simple. This up here is the thrust. That's how many burns that you can have in one turn. So this one has a base thrust of 3, and so it's 3. This one has a base thrust of 5, so it's 5. There is one more calculation to be done regarding thrust, and that is, what is the weight of your rocket? Of course, the heavier your rocket is, the less thrust you're going to be able to produce in order to push that mass, right? So the dry mass on these rockets are 3 dry mass. So I got it on the 3 down here. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn this off. There we go. I've got it on the 3 spot right here. Is 1, 2, 3. So you can see it's right there. And this one is on space number 2, and that's the dry mass for this rocket. The wet mass in this game, you start off with 8. 8 as your wet mass. So the wet mass is 8 here. The wet mass is 8 here. And both of these are in the category of, you can't read it here, but it says Scout, +0 net thrust. So your base thrust plus or minus your net thrust is your actual thrust. So 5 minus 0, here's the 5, minus 0 or plus 0 is 5. Same thing here, 3 plus 0 is 3. So that will be how many burns that we can take per turn. Now you'll say, oh, this guy's got the advantage because he's got 5 and he can do 5 burns, so he can get around quicker. Okay, but there's a caveat to that, which is this one expels 3 propellant every time this person burns. So if they do 5 burns at 3, that's 15 spots that this wet mass needs to move. And each of these things move along the black line here. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So see, if it goes all the way, it doesn't have hardly anything left. It only has 1, 2, 3, and then that's it. It can't even go the next one. So it only has 1 burn left. So this rocket can only make 6 burns. You'd think that this person has the advantage for that, but in fact, it might be a disadvantage. This one over here, though, only expels 1, but it can only go 3. So let's just say on its first, it goes 1, 2, 3. Well, there you go. Look how many turns this one can do. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So this one can do a lot more turns without having to do a refuel action, whereas this one here must do a refill action. So quite often. So anyway, that's the advantages and disadvantage of having these type of thrusters and this type of rocket. Now, for this one, you might say, okay, well, you're going to run out of fuel very quickly. That is true. That's why there are a couple of ways to do a site refuel in order to refuel your rocket so you can have enough propellant to go elsewhere. So the first one that you can do is you can take a look at the sites that are underneath these chits. You can look at 3. They can be anywhere per turn. You can take a look and see what the sites are. And on these sites, there are drops of water, which is propellant. So the number of drops of water you can use as an action to refuel your rocket that many steps. You refuel your rocket using the red dotted line steps. 1, 2, 3. You burn using the solid black line. So that's how that's managed. You can also, if you get a chit that has a droplet of water on it, and we saw that last time, if you recall, not the yellow one, but the blue one. However many droplets of water that are on that chit, you can turn that chit in and forego the points at the end in order to refuel your rocket. So that's 2 ways that you can refuel your rocket, and that should be enough. There's one more thing that we got to go through, which are the objectives. And in this game, last game we had the sail missions. This game we have sail missions and rocket missions. So all the other rules are exactly the same. So we'll take a look at this first player's sail mission. And the sail mission is in game, have the most number of science chits. We saw this icon on the chits before. And if they get that, they get 6, a planetary Nobel laureate award. Their rocket mission is in the end game, have the most number of steps of fuel on your fuel strip. Okay. So this person wants to get back to LEO with a whole bunch of wet mass. That would be really good for them. So that's what they're going to be going for. This one, the sail mission is be the first to damage your sail by rolling 1 on a hazard roll. So they say sail, but it's also applies to the rocket as well. So if they do that and I roll 1, red shirt expendable. Remember the red shirts from Star Trek? You basically get the red shirt is the first one to get hammered. So 4 points if I roll 1 on one of those danger spots, hazard rolls. And then the rocket mission is at 10 o'clock in the Mercury section, be the first to use the solar Oberth flyby twice in 2 different turns. And this is the Sun King, and you get 5 points if this person's able to do that. Now, remember, I told you how easy this is in order to take a look and see where these things exist. And if you look at this map here, 10 o'clock is right up over here. Be the first to use the solar Oberth flyby twice in 2 different turns. So here's the solar Oberth flyby, X equals base thrust. That's right over here. This is interesting because this may be a misprint because it says 10 o'clock and maybe it used to be over here, but now it's here. So just FYI to those in the know and those who made this game, it appears as though this should be saying 2 o'clock rather than 10 o'clock. So that's interesting. As I was touting how easy it is to find things, I was looking over here and there's nothing over here at 10 o'clock, but right at 2 o'clock, there certainly is. And it's called solar Oberth flyby. So this person wants to go through there twice in 2 different turns, maybe to return, to go out and to return, and then complete that mission with 5 points at the end of the game. So I think that's it. So that's not too bad. We are introducing some extra things here and some more stuff that we're learning in order to get to this core game and the bigger part of what this game's all about. There's a lot to it in the future, but we're just going 1 step at a time. So on that note, we will go ahead and start with player number 1 over here. And if we recall, basically we're just looking for chits and we want to conserve fuel. Pretty good card for this player since they only have 1 propellant of fuel each burn. So not bad. So anyway, let's start off. The question is where do we want to go? And I'm thinking that we probably just want to go, the first player probably just wants to go to the moon. So let's see if we can go there in one step, 1 turn. All right, so here we're at LEO. If you recall, LEO equals low Earth orbit. We're going to go to the cycler for 1 burn. We're going to pass through the radiation. We're going to go to the geo for 2 burns. We're going to go to the Earth Luna. I'm sorry, we're going to go this. That's the long way. How about we go the short way? Let's go the short way instead. We're going to go to here, and then we're going to make this turn here and go to the landing for the 2nd burn. And then we're going to land on one of these sites. So for the 3rd burn. So we can make it there with 1 turn. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. And that is our 3 steps of fuel that we used. And now we're going to either land on the H or the S. Last time there was an ISO underneath that H. I did mix them up, so I don't think it's the same. But I don't believe that this guy is going to take any chances. He doesn't want to take any chances that it's possible that it could be some type of water that's underneath the S. So we're going to try the S instead. So we're going to go ahead and land here at the Shackleton Polar Rim. There is a droplet of water here, so there is some water, probably ice, I would think, on the moon since it's so cold. So there is a droplet of water there. We're going to take a look at the chit, and the chit is, look at that, very lucky, got a science one. So already on the board with the science. It's only worth 1 point, but if the player has the most science ones, gets 6 at the end. So that's their first turn, and we're going to go to this one. This one is basically looking for a hazard roll in order to die, and also to go through this junk up here. So I say let's just go ahead and go up there and get this thing over with, right? I mean, we might as well. So let's try it. We're going to go to the cycler for one. We're going to go through this Lagrange point right here. Some people call it Lagrange. Some people call it Lagrange. Whatever it may be. You can call it whatever you like. I call it Lagrange. It's really easy for me to say that. So I will go ahead and continue to say that. Now, on the Lagrange points, if I recall correctly, you do not have to use a burn. So even though it is colored magenta, I'm not exactly sure why that's colored magenta, but if I recall correctly, that point isn't necessarily considered a burn. Let's see here. It says when any space filled with a magenta color, they have various shapes, but in space diamonds, the shape doesn't matter. Okay. So we do have to expend a burn there. So in space diamonds, it doesn't matter what the shape, if it's a star burst type thing, or if it's just a lander, or if it's just a regular circle, have to always expend a burn there. So we're going to do 1 burn here, 2 burns here. We're going to go up here to this intersection, and this is the Interplanetary Transport Network. And we're at this point, we could do is we could just say, we're going to call it the end of the day, and we're not going to go any further. And I think that's probably a good move since that would cost us 2 burns, which would cost us 6 steps of fuel, probably run out of fuel before we can even get to any site. So I'm just going to say that that's good enough. We went 2 burns. So that's going to cost us 6 steps of fuel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. All right. This person here can just actually skip on over here to this site and grab this one as well. This one is the Aristarchus Plateau. It has no water on it. And the chit here looks like it's some type of green vegetation or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it's worth 2 points in the end. So we're just going to go ahead and put that down there. I am going to actually take a look and see what kind of if it tells me what kind of thing that is. Oh, it's life. Okay, so that's just like microbial life or whatever. So there you go. So that is the next player's turn. They've moved and they've done their operation to take the chit. And now we're going to go back over to player number 2. And player number 2 is going to try to go through this flyby in order to do that. So we're going to go here for 1 burn, 2 burns, 3 burns. And this one right here is the solar flyby, which causes us to roll the dice. So we're at 3 burns right now. I didn't burn anything because I guess there is this yellow arrow right here. I'm not exactly sure what that means. It doesn't explain it, but I don't think I have to go up here and go back down. I think, well, maybe because you know what? I think that's only if you have a mobile lander, like a rover or something like that. So, but I don't have a rover. That's later on in the core game and so forth. So I think I actually do have to go up and then go back down. So that's one burn, and then that's two burns. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just expel 1, 2, and go there. All right. Great. And then here we got 3 burns already. So we're at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And here we got a solar Oberth flyby. And this person actually wants me to roll 1, because if I roll 1, which I did not, they would be able to fulfill that mission, but they didn't. So on the solar flyby, X equals base thrust. That is 5. So since we have a base thrust of 5, actually right here, that's the base thrust, then you get 5 bonus burns, believe it or not. So the problem is that I don't really have much left to go on. So this is going to be slow go until I really get to a site where I can actually site refuel. So the question is where am I going to site refuel? So this person is going to take, I believe it's a free action in order to do this discovery. Let me just make sure that's the case, because I think that is the case, that it is a free action scanner operation. Oh, actually, it's not. It is actually an operation. Choose 3 sites anywhere with chits on them and take a look at their site. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Take a look at this one. This has nothing on it. That's not good for them. They're going this way. They could have gone up there, but that's not going to really work out for them. I suppose they could go up here and go over here. So let's take a look there. There's 1 there, 1 step of fuel. That's not much. Here's 1 here. That's 1 step. Okay. So we got a couple that have 1 step of fuel, and we'll see if that works out for them. But anyway, I've used 3 burns. I've got 2 left plus 5. So I actually have 7 burns, but I just don't have enough propellant to be able to do anything. So basically I got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I've got 2 burns left, and that's actually 1 and 2 right there. So I've got to stop. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You might say, uh-oh, you're not going to be able to make any burn. That's true. However, in this version of the game, and this version of the game only, you're able to have an emergency sail help you basically go to the next space. So I'm going to be able to go to either here or to here, not the burn point, but to this space here. So, or actually, sorry, there's 1 right here. There is an intersection right there. So that's as far as I'm going to be able to go next turn. All right. So that settles that player. And this player now wants to get off the moon and start going elsewhere and search out some things. I would think that going to Mars is probably a good solution. So let's try that. So they have the ability to go 3 burns. So actually, what we're going to do is we're going to be smart here. We're going to take a look and see if there's any water. There's 2 there. Let's see Deimos. There's 2 on Deimos. And let's look at this one. There's 3 on Arcia Mons Caves. Okay, on Mars. There is some water there. There's 3. So we can do some site refueling there. That sounds like a good plan. But anyway, let's get off the moon and let's go to into the Mars system here. So this is one burn here. This is a Lagrange point. This is a Lagrange point. This is a second burn here. So we had one burn to take off, one burn to get us here. So that's 2. And then we're going to go to the Lagrange point, and then we're going to go ahead and land on here. So that's 3. So we have 1, 2, 3. So three burns will take us down to 1, 2, 3. Still got plenty of fuel, and we're able to claim this chit. I'm sorry, you cannot claim the chit as an operation because I used the operation in order to look. So I cannot actually take it on this turn. All right, next turn for this player, they've run out of fuel already. And so they need to stop at that point right there. There's not very good water that I saw there, so they might want to go a different route and go into Mercury. That might help them in order to get to the place where they want to go. So basically site refuel. So they're going to take a look at these 2. Here's 3 on here on the North Pole of Mercury. You're saying, how can there be ice on the North Pole of Mercury? Well, one side of Mercury is very, very, very hot, and the other is very, very, very cold because it is tidal locked to the sun. So here's another one that has no water, so we definitely don't want to go there. We would definitely go here, and then don't want to go to Venus. So we'll just take a look at this one. Did I already look at this one? Yeah, I did look at that one. That one wasn't very good for water. Let's just look at, did I look at this one? I think. No, I looked at this one. Yeah, I looked at this one, and that one. Well, I guess this is like all kinds of stops that go through here. So that's crazy. Don't really want to go there. I suppose here, that has no water. So that's 2. I'm sorry, that's 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're definitely going to Mercury because we got to do a site refuel. All right, so we did our 1 movement and we did our action. And now the next player is going to take their chit first. And look, oh, there's 2 with water. So 2 points with water. And they can discard that chit in order to do a refuel. But they still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps left. So they can make 6 more burns before they need to. So since we've already, we can go ahead and move. Let's just move. So here's 1 burn. We're going to go through the low Mars orbit without a burn. Here's a landing burn. And then we're going to go ahead and land on this site over here. And if you recall, this is the caves. And we cannot take the chit because we already did an operation. So we'll just leave that there. But we are going to be able to refuel for 3. So let's use our 3 burns. 1, 2, 3. And we only have 3 burns left. We only have 3 burns left. But we're going to be able to refuel there. Probably not next turn because we want to take the chit. I believe that the refueling is an action. Yes, it's called the ISRU refuel operation. ISRU stands for in situ resource utilization. It basically means to live off the land. So instead of importing propellant from Earth, we're taking it from the site that we're on. So that's the ISRU. All right, so we're going to go back to our first player here, and our first player is going to try to get to Mercury. And so we're going to go through this radiation thing without having to check. And we're going to stop here at this point because they're basically just coasting at this point. So although it says there's no coasting, it's just basically a free movement that you get because you've run out of fuel in order to keep your rocket going. So now that we're on this site, we can go ahead and we'll take the chit. And the chit is 1 drop of water and 1 point. So this person's already got 4 chits. 4 chits is all they need in order to come back home. So this could be a very quick game, a winner for the first player if they just turn around and get back home to Earth. So they've done their operation. Are they going to move? No, they want to refuel their next time, so they're good to go. So they're fine. Go back to the first player. Second player is going to go through this radiation and stop here at this point. And at this point, it's pretty obvious that going through there was just a disaster for this player because it took up all their fuel and then they're not really even able to go hardly anywhere. So going through that and trying to accomplish this mission with this type of rocket was a really bad idea. With this kind of rocket, much better idea because it's only 1 step of fuel per burn there. So although they had the right idea to try to accomplish that, and maybe they could have even gotten a 1 there to accomplish that mission, but it just didn't work out for them. All right, so this player, go ahead and do a fuel and site refuel for 3. So when we site refuel, you move it along the red line. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so we're way up there now at 6.5. That's really good. And so now they're going to go ahead and move and use their 3 burns in order to get back to Earth. So we're going to take 1 burn here to basically go into the landing spot, go past the Mars low Mars orbit. We're going to go here. And this is another basically stopping point. That's 2, but we have 1 more burn. So we're going to be able to go up here and go to the solar Mars Lagrange point. And then we're going to head right back on over here. Well, actually, we're going to head right back on over here because this one actually goes onto Earth, and that's not where we want to go. We actually want to go to low Earth orbit. So the green will take us back there. All right, so that's our 3 burns. We'll go ahead and mark those off. 1, 2, 3. You can see that the 3 site refuel brought us from here to here, but expending the propellant only brought us from there to there. So you use less propellant each burn than say what you receive from here. That's the economy of the game. All right, so this player here, player number 2, is going to go ahead and go to the next spot that they've stopped at, which is right there. It's not really getting them that far. They're basically out of the game. Let's be honest. This player is done for. All right. So we have plenty of fuel. We're going to take our first burn, and we're going to go here to the Earth-Luna Lagrange. Here's also another Earth-Luna Lagrange. Here's the geo spot. That is a burn. That's 1 burn. We're going to go through the radiation to the cycler. That's 2 burns. And then on to the SSO, which is, I'm sorry, why I went too far. Wait, hold on. Hold on a second. We're going to go, we were up here. We're going to go 1 burn here to the geo. We're going to go here to the cycler, and we're going to go down to LEO. So that's 3. So 1, 2, 3. They've got how many steps left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps left. If you recall, this mission here have the most number of steps of fuel on your fuel strip. So we've got 5 still. 5 still remaining. All right. So this player over here, One other thing too to mention is that the net thrust now, since it's a probe, has gone up by 1. So net thrust is actually 4. I forgot to change this here. The net thrust is 6. Didn't really matter because didn't really have any fuel left to make all those burns anyway. So, but just to let you know that when it gets lighter, the net thrust goes up because the rocket is lighter and you're able to thrust more. All right, so back to this player, going here to this spot, has 3 turns. That's 1 turn. That's 2 turns. Fine. That's 3 turns, and they can't make it anywhere. They're done. They finish with 0 points. This player over here, on the other hand, though, gets 4 points for being first back to Leo. They get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more points for actually their chits. So that's 7 points. I'm sorry. I can't add. That's 4 plus 6 is 10. 10 points. They have the most science chits because they've got 1, so they have 6, and then they also have the most fuel steps because this one only has 2 and they've got 5, so they also get 3. So they get 19 points. You might have thought that this game was much quicker than the last, and there wouldn't be a lot of points that were made. But if you recall, last game the first player had 18 points. This player just beat it with 19. So just by going to the moon on Phobos and on, I guess, is that South Mars or North Mars? I don't know. Well, this one's Glacier, so that's probably North Mars. So on South Mars, you're talking 19 points just by going to 4 different sites right here. So anyway, this game right here allows you to experience some of the mechanics. But as you can see, it's probably easy enough to play with kids. And kids meaning probably what, 10 up or so, because they can understand numbers and plus and minus and so forth. There's no multiplication. There's really no division here. It's just adding and subtracting. So yeah, I think that this game could definitely be played. And that's what it was really created for. It was for easy play, quick play with families. And yeah, this is a really easy way to try to get into this game. So that's going to conclude our episode here. The next episode that we're going to do is we're going to take the next rule book, which is, I believe it's called something to Glory. And then it's a focus on Mars. So we're going to check that out next time. And that one has its special rules, but it also uses a lot of the core game mechanics as well. In lieu of that, though, there is one more variant that we can do with this game, which is to build a rocket ship. So I'm going to take a look and see if there's any building of the rocket ship in that Mars missions. And if there is, then I'm going to go ahead and do the rocket one here and build a rocket on this map using this set of rules, because this is the easiest set of rules. So adding building a rocket mechanic to it makes sense rather than just going straight to Mars. So I'm going to take a look. If there's no rocket mechanic on Mars, well, we're probably still going to just do this anyway. So next episode, stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and upload, or I'm not even uploading it because I'm doing it live. Yes, I am doing it live. So anyway, hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you around for the next one.